Es mutet an wie ein Märchen der Gebrüder Grimm. Nur dass in dieser Geschichte nicht die Prinzessin erwacht, sondern das Schloss. Jahrhundertelang war an diesem entlegenen Ort zwischen Ruhrgebiet und Sauerland wenig passiert. Es ranken sich nur schemenhaft Erzählungen um dieses Gut. Es wird Zeit, dass neue Geschichten dazukommen. Eine davon erzählen wir jetzt. Dabei geht es um Denkmalschutz, der Historisches erhält und für die Zukunft konserviert. Es geht um altes Handwerk, dessen ganzes Wissen hier einmal eingemauert wurde. Und um Wände, die nach Hunderten von Jahren wie ein Lehrbuch wieder geöffnet werden. Und es geht um eine Unternehmerfamilie aus Dortmund, die hier einen neuen Lebensraum und Ort der Begegnung schafft. Das Rittergut Schafhausen.
Dear listeners, unfortunately, I cannot stand before you in person today. I can therefore only report on Gut Schafhausen in this way. You have already seen in the brief introduction of a film that we produced that documents the 5 years of veneration of Schafhausen estate. What a special place is being worked on here. But to achieve this result, a lot of patience, hard work, expertise and communication with experts and executing companies were necessary. I would like to give you a brief overview of it. Gut Schafhausen was built in 1743 as a manorial estate. It is a half-timbered building, but the builders wanted it to look like a stone house, which is why it was already plastered at that time. About 100 years ago, small extensions were made, a winter garden at the back, and about 80 years ago, a small toilet tower was added in the corner between the main building and the north wall of the chapel. When the current owners acquired the house and property in 2018, we did not yet know what lay ahead of us. The general planning was initially quickly done. The main house will remain a residence for a large family, and the chapel will be converted into a meeting and seminary room, relaxation room, and now also serves as a civil registry office for weddings for the community. An adjoining washhouse replaces the toilet tower. Here you see a photo from the first day of inspection in 2018. Then we approached the property, and after the vegetation was removed, the first part of the problem became apparent. The entire base areas had been often plastered with cement finish, and when this plaster was also taken down, the house was revealed. Both internally and externally, the major issues in the restoration of the timber framework became evident. At the same time, we considered how we could tackle the plastering issue, as there were already some considerations regarding the energy supply of the house. The goal was to heat with as low a temperature as possible. The aim was to heat it as ecologically as possible. And the objective was to use building materials that could all be separated from each other if one wanted to do it differently. And the following decisions were then made. At the southern edge of the property, there was a barn that had since been converted into a breeding stable. And in the basement of the stable, a heating house with a double wood chip heating system was built, which can now supply all buildings of the property in the form of a district heating network. Then it was decided to excavate 50 centimeters of the non-solid part of the main house to bring in crushed glass as a base for the new floors. They are all equipped with underfloor heating. Additionally, wall heating has been integrated into the clay plaster in potentially thermally critical areas. Now the topic of exterior plaster came up, and we initially considered using panels, but the Monument Protection Office pointed out that there is also a thin insulation plaster available. So let's take a look at that. Oh, that's Aerogel. At this moment, we have contacted various manufacturers. Ultimately, we decided on the products of the company Hazit. Together, all details were coordinated. During the trial process, a window was also built as an example to know the connections to the subsequent trades, to learn about the workflows, and to coordinate that with the monument protection. And then it started, sure, with a big number of different details. Unfortunately, after several weeks of work, we had to find out that the first company had worked 40. This led the necessity of completely tearing down the plaster and substructure in the area of the main house, and then having to find a new company. This one worked well on it, supported by expert of Hazit, so that in December 2023, finally, after 5 years, the house's scaffolding could finally be taken down. And for the first time, we had the new house completely in front of us. In the following ones, the base coats were integrated. That could only happen after the completion of the terrace buildings, because this has to be to do together. The wonderful aspect of this very thin insulation plaster with scratch plaster is that it was able to create a very rough and also crooked and curved surfaces of the timber frame. So we still have a very old building, but with new technology and new possibilities. In German, we call it steinfühlig. We will save about 25 to 30 kilowatt heating load calculated. This also convinced the owner. Admittedly, not in the question of when it pays off, but that he wants to take responsibility for consuming less energy. And, quite obviously, in combination with the newly installed chimney and stoves, it works well in the house. The comfort in the house is very satisfactory. It is warm, cozy, and through the clay plaster construction, inside the indoor climate is exceptionally pleasant. I will now show you just some photos from the inside as an example, so you have an idea. And here is a little tip. All the oak furniture elements you see in the photos were made from the old beams that were still worth preserving when the building was partially demolished. It seems modern, or? It was always done in the past. We just call it recycling or reusing now. Thank you for listening, and I wish you a good afternoon. I am pleased that we were allowed to apply and that you have appreciated our community work here so much. Thank you from Münster.